Kakadosh Boker Or, Masechet Batra Daf Yud Amud Aleph is Daf Yomi. We are 117a1. We're just going to start on 116b, the Mishnah. We're in the middle of Yesh No Chalin, so we're talking about now a new topic, which is the Chalukah of Eretz Yisrael. Okay, Benot Tzlovchad. אני מטפל בכם עד הסוף, כמו ילדים קטנים. בנות צלובחד נטלו 3 חלקים מן החלה. You know, the daughters of Tzlovchad, they went and they took, right, 3 חלקים מן החלה of Eretz Yisrael. חלק אביהן, the חלק of their father, שהיה עם יוצא מצרים, which she had with יוצא מצרים, וחלקו, right, and also another חלק of אביהן with the brothers in נכסי חפד, right, and an extra one, שהיה בכור. So the בכור is נוטל 2 חלקים. So basically it comes out that they had 3 chalakim. They had the chelek of their father with Yotzei Mitzrayim, meaning everybody that came out of Egypt, they got a portion of land. So they also got a portion of land of their father with everybody that came out of Egypt. That's number 1. Number 2, the personal Yerusha. The father was Tzlovchad ben Chefer. So when Chefer passes away, Tzlovchad is going to... Tzlovchad already was deceased. So therefore they took their chelek of Chefer. Number 3 is that he was a Bechor. So since he's a Bechor notet Pishtayim. So they also took that chelek as well. So they took 3 different chalakim in the land of Israel. Okay? So it says the Gemara. Okay? Tonight we learned on the Mishnah. Keman demar, right? We're now saying like the man damar the Yotzei Mitzrayim nitchalka aretz, that the aretz was nitchalka. The Tanya, as he says over here, we learned on the right of Yoshia, Rabbi Yoshia says, Yotzei Mitzrayim nitchalka aretz. The land was nitchalka to, right, to Yotzei Mitzrayim. Shneimar b'zeh in the pasuk, lishmot matot avotam yinchalu. Ela mani mekayem la'elet techalek aretz benachala. So 1 second. If you're going to tell me now, lishmot matot avotam yinchalu, what do I do with that then? Because it says la'elet techalek aretz. So it's mashma that these are the ones that came out of Minyan Acharon. They are the ones that are the ones only going into Eretz Yisrael. They are the ones that are going to come and get a portion of the land. La'ele ka'ele. Maze la'ele ka'ele. He says la'ele are the ones, or the Yotzei Mitzrayim. He says it's only going to be b'nei esrim mala. So too there it's lo'tzi et tfanim. So too it's only going to be excluding the shayu b'tzutam ktanim esrim. They don't get a chelek in Aretz. Meaning kol katin, kol shama katin zaya pachot migel esrim. Anybody that was less than 20 years old, who lo kibel chelek ba'aretz. Migil 20 ומעלה. Okay? Rabbi Yonatan argues, and Rabbi Yonatan says, no, lebae ha'aretz nitchalka aretz. It wasn't, I don't care with who came out of Mitzrayim. I care who's going into Israel, who's going into Eretz Yisrael. Shneimar la'ele techalek aretz benachala. Elamani mekayem lishmo matot avotam yinchalu. So he says, Meshune nachala zo mikol nachalot shebaolam. This nachala is different than all the nachalot in the world. Why? Shekol nachalot shebaolam, all the nachalot shebaolam. He says, Chayim yorshim metim, right? He says, the Chayim are going to be yorshim, the metim. Bekan metim yorshim et Chayim. Here, which means that once they take their portion in the land of Eretz Yisrael nachala, chilku otam lefi avotehem yotzei Mitzrayim, and therefore the nachala again goes according to the Yerusha of Yotzei Mitzrayim. So usually, it's always the living people that they inherit the deceased. Here in Chalukat Eretz Yisrael, it's the deceased which are inheriting the living people. Okay? So, what? Yes, Al Pi Agora. Yeah? Yeah, each shevet. Yeah, 100%. Each shevet. לכל לפי השבטים. Yes, everything is according to the Shalom. So he says now like this. Amar Rabbi, he says Rabbi, I'm going to give you a mashal to that which is going to be compared to. So he says, what exactly is going to be compared to? So he says like this. He says, right, as follows. He says like this. You have 2 brothers which are Kohanim, in one city. Right? Le'echad yesh lo ben echad. One of them has 1 boy, one of them has 2 boys. So they go to the Goren. Right, this one that he's going to have the 2 boys. Right, so he comes and he says, this one that he's going to have the 2 boys. Is only going to take 1 portion. The one that has 2 boys is going to take 2 portions. ומחזירין אצל אביהן. They go back to the father. וחוזרים וחולקים בשווה. And then they're going to divide it equally. Which is going to be 1.5 to each one. That was chalukat haaretz. Everyone understood? So one more time, even though it could be that there was more people by going into the land of Israel, it didn't matter because it would go back up to the parents and then it would. So one more time, everyone understood what happened. You have one person, 2 boys. Yeah? So now, if one person has 2 boys, what do they receive? Chetzi, chetzi. Chetzi, chetzi. Yeah? There's 1 person, 2 boys. Forget about Bechor. We're not going into Bechor. Pay attention, please. Right? One more time. You have 1 person, 2 boys. Yeah? What do you do? Chetzi, chetzi. Okay. There's no lo tamid Bechor. Right? That's another thing. Yeah? Yeah? So what happens? Right? So what happens is that they do chetzi, chetzi. This one boy, he has 2 boys. This boy has 1 boy. So now when they go to the Goren, the 2 of them are going to collect 2 portions. The one is going to collect 1 portion. Makes sense? Yeah, but then it goes back up. And when it goes back up to the fathers, each one is taking chetzi chetzi. So they have to put back into the pot. And now instead of this one boy receiving 1/3, and the other boy receiving 1/3 and 1/3, it becomes half and now half. So that's the mashal. You go back up, and then each one is going to receive according to the way that it was Yotzei Mitzrayim. Everyone understood? Okay. So Amar, right, Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar omer, Shimon ben Lazar, he argues, and he says, it's not, remember, each one beforehand, one of them was saying Yotzei Mitzrayim, and one of them was saying Lebayei Haaretz. Now this one is saying for both. Now how do you do both? I understand the one of Yotzei Mitzrayim made sense. Everything had to do with Begil Esrim. The one of going into Eretz Yisrael also made sense. What do you do with Mitzrayim? No, you go back up and you do what you just did now. But according to this one, what does that mean? So he says, to do both of the psukim. So how do you do that? If he was from Yotzei Mitzrayim, he's going to take his chelek from Yotzei Mitzrayim. But if he was only in the chelek of Ba'ei Haaretz, notel cheleko in Ba'ei Haaretz. Mikan u'mikan, what happens if he's both? He was also Yotzei Mitzrayim and also, right, of the Ba'ei Haaretz. So he says, notel chelko mikan, right, u'mikan. He takes 2 chalakim then. He takes a chelek mitzad Yotzei Mitzrayim, and he takes a chelek mitzad Ba'ei Haaretz. Yeah? Which actually makes sense. Okay? Now, what we just don't understand is, how does that happen? Because we already know that they actually died in the desert. Yeah? So, fine. Obviously, you know, how could that be? But okay, fine. It could be that he was, he says over here, Badam shaya me'al gil 60 b'yetziat Mitzrayim, and hu gam nichnas la'aretz. Yeah? Meraglim, Yoshua ve'Kalev natlu chelkam. Now, to do the Meraglim, who took the chelek of the Meraglim? It was Yoshua and Kalev. Yeah, what does that mean? That even though the Meraglim were Yotzei Mitzrayim and they were coming and they were fitting to take their chelek, right? Because at the end of the day, they were Yotzei Mitzrayim. But Yoshua and Kalev, they took the chelek of the Meraglim. Mitlonenim, right? What about the Mitlonenim Vadat Korach? Lo yalem chelek ba'aretz. They did not take a chelek at all. Meaning the Meraglim did have a chelek, but it was taken away. And who was it given to? The good guys. Who were the good guys? Yoshua and Kalev. The Mitlonim, the ones which were the complainers, and the Adat Korach, they didn't get a chelek at all. Habbanim, the children of these people, natlu b'zchut avi avihen, u'b'zchut avi motehen. They did get a chelek, but not because of their father, because it jumped, it skipped. Ki'ilu, that they don't get a chelek because of the father. Yeah, it was because of the grandfather. Okay. My mashma dahai lishmot matot avotam b'yatzei Mitzrayim ketiv. Says the Gemara. One second. Right? Remember that we had 3 different shitot. One of them was Yotzei Mitzrayim. Second one was Ba'ei Haaretz. And third one was both. And then we had to accomplish both. How do you get both? Okay? Now, it says the Gemara, how do you know that when it says Lishmot Matot Avotam, we're talking about Yotzei Mitzrayim? How do you know that? So he says, Dilma Shvatim Kabbalah. Maybe it's talking about the Shvatim. Has nothing to do with Yotzei Mitzrayim. So he says, the Gemara says, V'natatot lachem orashat ni Hashem. That pasuk was said to Yetziat Mitzrayim, and therefore, since that pasuk was said to Yetziat Mitzrayim, and there it's written, "V'natati ota lachem morasha," So it's a Yerusha. So therefore, obviously, it's talking about Yetziat Mitzrayim. Okay? Siman, right? What is a siman now? Larav, Tzlovchad Yosef, Ichpal, Menashe, Yechashev. That's a siman to remember the rest of the Gemara. Okay? You have Larav, Tzlovchad and Yosef. You have Ichpal, Menashe, Yechashev. So Elmaleh Rav Papa Labaye says Rav Papa Labaye, Bishleman Mandamarayin, and they're said according to the Mandama. Liyotze Mitzrayim Nitchal Kaaretz. That for Yotze Mitzrayim was divided the land. Hainu Dichtiv, that's what it means in the Pasuk. Larav. That was the first part of the siman. Larav. How do we know that Yotze Mitzrayim was Nitchal Kaaretz? It says Larav Tar Ben Achalotov Lama Tamin Achalotov, which means the mashmaut of the Pasuk is that when it says the word Larav, each one got according to how much that he had. So each one, Kol Echad Mishpacha Kibel Yoter, and the Mishpacha, right, which is called the Me'at, he will Kibel Pachot. Larav means in numbers, in quantities. Yeah? So therefore, if you're going to tell me it's Yotze Mitzrayim, so the family that had a bigger family, they obviously got more. Even though it could be that when they came into Israel, they were less in numbers. You go according to the amount when they left Egypt. Because remember, if you're telling Yotze Mitzrayim, it means that the kar was, I'm looking at it during the time of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Now they're less in numbers. Doesn't matter. I don't care about the numbers now. I care about the numbers when they left Mitzrayim. Okay? But according to the Mandamar, that it's when you're going into the land. My larav tar ben achlato. What does it mean now? Larav tar ben achlato. Right? Each mishpacha got according to the way that they came into the land. So says the Gemara, you're right, Kashi. That's a good question because we don't really have an answer on that because according to that, that's why it's more mashma that it's the ones which are leaving, right? Mitzrayim.
When's the next Daf?